Hey guys, just a reminder that from now until June 26th, I'm getting you 10 free meals plus free dessert for life with HelloFresh. HelloFresh brings fresh ingredients perfectly packaged, delivered straight to your door, where meals come together in less than 30 minutes typically. And from now until June 26th, I got you locked in for 10 free meals and free desserts as long as you are actively subscribed to HelloFresh. For details on how you can claim your free meals and dessert today, head to the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring.
Listeners and viewers, please welcome the host of my guest at this time, Jose Gonzalez.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of My Guest at This Time. Jose Gonzalez here. It is a fun one because we are just a couple days away from the time that you guys see this from Clash of the Castle in Scotland. So, of course, we're going to be talking some predictions, and I had to think about who would be such an incredible guest to have on. You might know her from Know Your Role every Friday on Bodyslam.net's YouTube channel. You might have seen her at WrestleMania this year getting to cover and interview some of your favorite WWE superstars. The incredible StephanieHypes. Stephanie, how are you?
What's up? I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. It was so good getting to see you in Philly this year.
Yes.
Randomly
To
meeting
meet
you in
you.
line for Jazz. That was
Yes.
a great experience. Who also, Jazz is incredible. It was so awesome to be
Oh my
there
God.
for her first appearance there in almost 20 years.
Why did it take so long? Right?
That's what I'm saying.
I was so happy to see her and she looked happy to be there. Like she was like smiling ear to ear. People were cheering for her as she walked out. Like all the love she deserved. And you're right. Like we randomly met in the line to meet Jazz. And then I realized you were also in the media room with me, which is awesome.
Yeah. First
and
Mania me doing media. Was it the first for yours as well?
this is my second Mania.
Ooh.
The first one I was shadowing. This is the first year I was interviewing. So I will say it was my first interviewing by myself, which is pretty cool. It was nerve-wracking as hell.
I mean, you did incredible. The coverage was excellent. So you definitely accomplished what you came there to do. Got to rep the wrestling club a little bit in some press conferences.
Yes.
Didn't get to see Mr. Perry or anything, but they are an incredible group. You guys are the next generation of this business. I'm excited to see where everybody ends up in a few years, I'm sure.
I know. I'm really hoping some of them get into wrestling somehow. That'd be so cool.
Oh my gosh. I hope so. I mean, even getting into what we have going on, I mean, the European shows lately have been spoiling us. We've been having some concise cards, but the matches have all really delivered. I mean, we're coming off a Backlash.
Yes.
We just had the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments finish in Saudi Arabia. I mean, what are your thoughts going into Clash at the Castle so far?
I mean, I'm expecting the crowd to be absolutely lit. Let's just be real. The European crowds, the overseas crowds in general, have absolutely blown US crowds out the water every time. And so I always look forward to that. Scotland last time was amazing, so I'm assuming they'll be amazing again. So I'm actually very excited. I'm loving these international PLEs. I hope it continues.
I do too, and I know this one's actually going to be a little bit more interesting because the venue that they're going to, the OVO, is actually an amphitheater. So the way that they're set up, you have pretty much like 90% of the crowd going to be facing cameras, so that sound is really going to translate.
Oh, really? I didn't.
So I think it's going to be even louder than Backlash was, than maybe Backlash in Puerto Rico was, because you're really getting so much of it towards you. Mm-hmm. So we're probably going to have like one of the hottest crowds we've seen in WWE in quite some time, and I personally cannot wait.
I didn't even realize that about the location. That's incredible. Ooh.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how it translates on camera too, because I mean, like seeing like how much of the crowd's going to be surrounding everything. I'm excited for it. And I mean, we have a lot to talk about. I mean, we've been getting into the weeds. I know coming off of SmackDown last night, we have two really big matches that got announced. I mean, one that I know we were kind of talking about hasn't been officially added at the time we were recording this, but I mean, we're seeing more of the Bloodline stuff going on with Solo Sikoa now being the head of the table. We have the right-hand man in Tama Tonga now. And now we have everything going on where they're really trying to scare Paul Heyman into following the rules. I mean, Tongaloa is now the infamous, I believe.
Infamous Tongaloa.
Yep. And Solo in his best Dawn FM attire, really just trying to negotiate with Paul Heyman, remind him that Roman's not here right now. So what Solo says is Bible. I'm very curious to see. Do you think we're going to get anything with the Bloodline at this event?
Jose, I don't mean to put a damper or anything, but low key, I'm not really feeling this Bloodline 2.0 situation so
Honestly,
far.
I'm not either.
Okay, I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. Like, I'm just like, I want Roman deserves a good break. He deserves some time off. I don't want Roman. Does that make sense?
Exactly,
I
especially
want this to be
considering how he
successful
yeah. And
without
considering
him.
how much of a heel he was going out, like how like that almost 4-year reign as Universal Champion really just like the fans going from like, oh my God, we finally got Roman as a heel to like, oh my God, he doesn't show up. He's not defending the title. Like
Yeah.
we screwed Cody at one WrestleMania. Why do I feel like we're going to do it again? Because they almost screwed him out of the Royal Rumble win. So
Yeah.
going from like the antithesis of like boo Roman to now it's just like, I don't know if it's so much that we're longing for Roman to come back rather than we're just not translating with what Solo's doing this role. I feel like it's almost been kind of shoehorned into something going on because we want to keep the bloodline active, but I don't know if this
Thank
was the
you.
way I would do
I'm
it.
glad you said it. So I said it last night on Know Your Role, and I said it feels forced. It feels it all happened too quickly. The reason why Roman was so successful as the tribal chief and as the heel, it was a very slow burn, right? There were steps to it. It was him versus other people, then it was him turning internally to his family, and then kind of grooming them in a way, to a point where it was bullying them, right? And it was like this build of just like he had no bounds. There was nothing limiting him. Like he would do whatever he needs to do, and it made him this great heel. This just all seems like, okay, Roman's gone, and you guys, Solo is now the head of the table, and now we have a right-hand man, and now we have the infamous, and I'm like, why do we care? What, like, Roman made us give a shit, right? He made us give a shit about, excuse me, I don't know if I can cuss on this. I apologize. I don't know. Like, we gave a shit about, Jey Uso, and, he made him a star. He made him main event Jey Uso in that storyline, and there were layers to it. And I just feel like there's no layers to this. Right now, it's just like the unhinged bloodline. Oh my gosh. And now he's the new tribal chief, and Paul Heyman is scared. And I'm just like, they're bullying Paul Heyman. Like they're making Paul Heyman face almost in this situation. And I'm just like, it's too soon for me to be like, it's bad. But so I'm trying to like just feel it out. But right now I'm just not feeling it. And I'm honestly care less if they show up or not. At this point, it's what I'm trying to get to. If they show up at Clash, cool. If they don't, cool. Like it's just not for me currently. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, I feel like the best way I could describe it is that when Roman was there, it felt like he was fighting for his birthright, for dynasty, whereas everything they're doing with Solo right now feels very much like an entitled Nepo baby.
Yeah.
So we're not getting the substance that we know they've been able to put into the bloodline for the last 4 years. So
like,
feels like we're just trying
to build Tama. I'm gonna get this wrong. Tonga.
Yeah.
What is it?
Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga.
Jesus, I always get them backwards.
Camacho.
Thank you. I almost wish they had like built them up individually and had Solo go in and recruit them in, because it's like, why do I care about these two? If I never watched the Indies and I didn't know who they were, why do I care? Like you're saying they're bad. You're saying all this stuff. It's almost like you're forcing me to think this, kind of the same way they used to do it Roman before when he was the big dog, and they'd be like, oh, he's a big dog, he's a big deal. Oh, he's the big dog, he's a big deal. And you're like, cool, like whatever. Like Roman had to prove that he was a big deal in his own right. And so right now you're telling me Tonga Loa and Tonga whatever, that you're telling me that they are badasses and dangerous and blah blah. And I'm just kind of like, okay. Cool. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, I need to know why I care.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you could have presence in the ring. They could definitely go, but it feels like they've just kind of been thrust into this without any sort of, like, true introduction, because it's always been like, oh, my God, who's that attacking someone? Oh, my God, who's that attacking someone? It kind of, like, really makes you think, like, okay, do I have to keep up with everything, even outside of WWE, to keep an eye on who could possibly come in now? I mean, there's so much wrestling as there is, so I can understand people being overwhelmed, but I feel like there's still just... it's missing something to really push this forward. I'm hoping to get there by SummerSlam, but I mean,
and
after how
it's too early, let me give it some time. But you asked me if they're going to show up, and I could care less if they do.
Yeah, so they'll probably be on SmackDown at the very least. I would be genuinely surprised if they don't even make the trip over to Scotland. But I mean, we do have some people of Scottish descent on this card that are going to be vying for some championship gold. One that I'm very excited about that we started to see building the SmackDown before King and Queen of the Ring was Piper Niven stepping up to Bayley to challenge for the WWE Women's Championship. I am very excited for this. What are your thoughts?
This is the match I'm most excited about. Like, anybody who has watched Piper, whether it be in NXT UK, when she was the Viper in the Indies, like, this woman is incredible. And she's amazing. And she's so good in the ring. She's good on the mic. And I felt like for the first time, last SmackDown, whenever this airs, that they actually gave her some time on the mic, and Bayley put her over in a huge way by saying, like, you know, I respect you, and you're this, and you did this in the Indies, and blah, blah. And Piper then got on the mic, and she just spit truth. And she was like, I was a world champion when you were down at the Performance Center, right? Like, this woman's been in the game a long time. I just feel like she's never gotten the chance to show everything that she has. Like, she has every tool in the arsenal. She's a badass, but she's never gotten the chance on the mic, in the ring, I feel like, to show off all of that. And last night felt like for the first time they let her do that, and they let her just lay it out. And I actually tweeted about it this morning. She had this line where she's like, if you only knew, if you had any idea how dangerous I was, you wouldn't be standing so close to me. And I was like, damn, like, that is the Piper I want to see. That is the Piper I feel like needs a push, because, you know, they do that with Nia Jax. They make her this, you know, unrelenting force. And Nia Jax is killing it, by the way. But Piper should be the same thing to me. And instead, they've made her like this. Yeah, she's a dominant force, but she's very beatable, right? And it's like, no, like, build her up. They don't have to be the same thing, right? Nia Jax is just a natural heel. People love booing her. She's killing it. Piper doesn't necessarily need to be a heel. She can be face or heel and still be this badass woman. So I'm like, I just want to see more of that. I don't expect her to drop to Bayley, or Bayley to drop to her, but I just want to keep this Piper momentum and this Piper attitude moving forward no matter what.
I agree. And honestly, having Chelsea still backing her doesn't take anything away from Piper at all, because even on Up, Up, Down, Down, they were talking about the fact that they were on a Stardom tour together too. So like, they definitely have the layers outside of WWE. We know ICW is on Peacock on the WWE network. So you could see some of Piper's past work as Viper, going against Alba Fire when she was Kaylee Ray, against people like Molly Spartan. And I also believe that Piper has like a little bit of a different approach to her in-ring style than someone like a Nia Jax does, where Nia is very much like brute force, powerful, brawler. Piper's always had like a little bit more agility to her stuff. I mean, we've gotten to see her do like some diving offense. We've seen her do Canadian destroyers before. So like,
Piper's a worker, man.
Yeah, there's a lot more facets to like how you can build a bigger woman in the division without having them be like the quote unquote monster heel. Like, not everyone's gonna be like an Awesome Kong or an Aja Kong. Like, letting them have like their personality, kind of the same way that you see Kevin Owens as a heavyweight doing his moonsaults and everything too, moving like a cruiserweight. Like, there's a lot.
Or Ivar. Look at Ivar. Ivar, to me, every time I watch that man, I would never, Keith Lee, like, I would never expect those men to move the way that they move. But just because you're big does not mean that you're not athletic, right?
Exactly.
And I want them to let Piper show that, because she has it. She has it.
Yeah, I feel like this is the match where like they pull the trigger, like, okay, just go. And I know that her and Bayley are going to mesh well together, because we've seen Bayley in this face run really like not only show like her experience, but like her sympathy doesn't always have to be with like, oh my God, the crowd loves me. It's just like you're seeing someone that's like been suppressed for years really come into her own now. She's a more realized version of herself, and she's just trying to fight for her own integrity again, which we haven't seen in quite some time. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. I don't think Piper's going to get the win. Something tells me we're going to be building to Bayley and Nia at SummerSlam for the Women's Championship. Whether Money in the Bank throws us a curveball, which I hope they don't, because I like when they actually give Miss Money in the Bank an actual reign instead of cashing in at the same night as a crutch. Like, I feel like
for the women, we haven't had one for the women in a while where they just hold on to it. since it's Carmella, probably. So
Yeah, I mean,
I really
Io
would
was a
like
couple
them to.
months, but I mean,
Io was a
having
couple
that
months.
cash in with Carmella, I think we got spoiled because it was fun seeing like, is she not going to? And then getting
Oh
the
yeah,
SmackDown after WrestleMania and the crowd was electric. Like,
yes.
let them actually taunt it for a little bit. Like we saw how well it worked with Damian Priest this year at WrestleMania as well, too. So I don't know. I
think
feel like
Tiffany's gonna win the Money in the Bank briefcase, if we're being honest.
honestly,
I feel
my
like.
top two right now are Tiffany and Chelsea. So I'd be very curious to see if
Ooh,
somehow
Chelsea.
they mess up and someone's not in the match the same way that Chelsea wasn't in the Queen of the Ring tournament. But
We can get that. Look, I can go off about that all day. I don't understand that. But Tiffany, Chels, Naomi, those are my top three for, and Dakota are my top four, I would say, for Money in the Bank. So we'll see. But as far as this match goes, I think Bayley will retain.
I agree. I think it's going to be a great showing for Piper. I'm sure she's going to get a standing ovation after the match. I don't think her and Chelsea are going to be in turmoil by any means because they shouldn't be. It's just going to be a nice match to have in a home country crowd.
Absolutely. I'm just happy she gets to do this in front of her friends and family and gets a big title match. And I think she's deserved it for a long time. So I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. And speaking of another Scottish homecoming, on the Raw side of things, we have for the World Heavyweight Championship, Mr. 5 Minutes, the hater of the world, Drew McIntyre going against everyone's favorite bisexual Undertaker of the Judgment Day, the current El Campeon Damian Priest. What are your thoughts for this one, Stephanie?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is probably the hardest one because do you really have Drew lose again? Do you?
I feel like they kind of booked themselves into a corner for this. It's going to be a great crowd. Give us broken dreams, please. Triple H, I beg of you, give us broken dreams and not just like a little video package before the theme. Let him walk to the ring for it. It calls for it.
Yes.
But I don't know. I feel like they don't want to jip Damian out of a reign. But I also feel like if Drew wins the title, I mean, he's still going to end up feuding with CM Punk regardless. I don't know if that should detract from what they have going on with Gunther challenging for the World Championship at SummerSlam. Because I feel like either way, Damian versus Gunther would probably make more sense to have alongside a Drew versus CM Punk. Whereas I feel like if Drew goes against Gunther at SummerSlam, I feel like whoever's at SummerSlam is probably going to end up losing the title anyways. So
that's the hard part because you also have Bash in Berlin coming, and I feel like that is going to be a big match. I'm assuming Gunther's in the main event that pay-per-view, so it's like, does he main event it? So at SummerSlam, he has a match, right?
See, I have a different theory for Bash in Berlin. Because I feel like what could end up happening is that if for whatever reason, or I don't think it's going to be that he screws him, but I feel like we're not going to see Ludwig Kaiser stick with Gunther past SummerSlam. And I feel like if Gunther's the champion, that's your challenger because you have the German superstar and you also have the implosion of Imperium and conspicuous by his absence post-draft, Giovanni Vinci. I'm sure that can throw another layer into things too. So
yeah, because we haven't seen him since that whole backstabbing. You know, this can go so many ways. That's what I love about this. So do you not pull the trigger and have Drew lose again in Scotland in a championship match? And I tell people, I'm like, you have to follow the story. What is the story? The story is Drew gets distracted. Drew can't keep his eye on the prize. So does Punk, I think Punk is almost cleared, if not cleared already. So I almost feel like Drew's going to go into SummerSlam. I think Drew loses here. I think he goes into SummerSlam in the program with CM Punk, where you have that big SummerSlam match between Drew and Punk. Non-title, just Drew and Punk. And then you have Gunther versus Damian. I hate to say that he's going to lose just because it's in Scotland again in front of his crowd. But I do not think Drew wins here because I'm following the story. And the story is he's distracted by CM Punk. And I feel like CM Punk will be a factor in some way. So I think Damian retains.
Yeah, I feel like Damian's probably going to retain. We've gotten conditioned over the years to know, like, just because you're wrestling in your hometown, home country, even on a pay-per-view, doesn't mean that you're going to win. I've seen it firsthand with Beth Phoenix with the Divas title. I'm still a little salty about it. But, I mean, like, you definitely have, like, the layers of this, because you have Judgment Day doing who knows what with Liv Morgan, because now Damien's also distracted by like, is Carlito coming in? What is Dominic doing? Like, what is Finn doing? JD is over there in the corner looking like a Funko Pop. Like,
and it seems like Damien's also, so some people did say this as well. So you do have this whole Liv Morgan thing, right? And maybe things aren't exactly what they seem. Is Liv actually working with Finn? You know, like we're all looking at Dominic, right? But is that really what's going on? Because we did see her get out of the same car as Finn. We see her talking to JD McDonough in the back. And so I feel like there's a couple different layers here. Some people said, because I don't know if you remember, was it Mania? I think it was Mania, where Damien grabbed Finn's face, or it might have been Clash, or not Clash. Backlash. Oh, where he grabbed Finn's face. Do you remember that? And it was like very disrespectful. Like disrespectful. And I'm like, everyone's like, oh, Finn's just gonna let this fly. I doubt it. At some point, Damien seems to be going face here compared to the rest of the Judgment Day. And so I don't know if you remember, he stopped them from beating up Kevin Owens, I think it was.
I feel like what's going to probably end up happening is I feel like they're going to have some sort of coup, because Damien was trying to say that once Rhea got injured that he was the leader of the Judgment Day, and they've been completely disrespectful and disregarding that for almost 2 months now. Yep. So I feel like Liv Morgan taking everything away from Rhea Ripley, by proxy also taking away from Damian Priest. You could have Damian have that face turn, and it also could set up something for Money in the Bank where he can challenge Finn for the world title and like have that happen. And then also remind Finn, remember when you were fighting Seth Rollins and you couldn't get the job done? It's not going to be any different in Toronto if we have that match there. So it's also kind of showing like, no, I am a worthy champion, and I was able to do it on my own, cashing in without Judgment Day, and I can continue to carry into whatever happens at SummerSlam without Judgment Day as well. So
what if Finn causes Damian the title at Clash?
You know what I think it's going to be? It's going to be a competition of Finn interfering, but I feel like Punk's going to interfere too. So
I do too.
Who's going to screw who out of the match? I don't think it's going to be just a clean singles match by any means. There's going to be There's got to be foolishness.
It's just, what's the foolishness end in? Does the foolishness end in Damian Priest somehow holding on to it after all that? Because he can still win, and you can further the storyline between him and the Riff and the Judgment Day. If Drew wins, he can taunt CM Punk with that title. I could see WWE wanting Punk in a title match for SummerSlam. So I wouldn't be shocked if they went ahead and pulled it for Drew to win the title at Clash and have him hold it through SummerSlam where Punk beats him. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. This can go so many ways. There's so many factors as well, which is what I love about this era. They're adding layers to like this onion, and you're just peeling back layers, right? And there's like backstories or stories that they're setting up for even after a certain title match, where you can now have somebody to go after. So what I'm trying to say is I don't know who's winning this match.
Yeah. I'm going to say and still Damian Priest, but not by his own intent. I don't know.
I don't see him dropping it yet. He's been a champ for 3 months?
Yep, since WrestleMania Night 2, so only 2 months so far.
Damian retains somehow.
Yeah. I mean, this is the best problem to have with WWE that we haven't seen in quite some time.
I know.
Things can genuinely be unpredictable. I'm enjoying it. There's nuance. We're not just booking towards like one event. We're thinking long-term angles again. Yes. It's refreshing.
I think Damian retains, but we further along that Judgment Day riff somehow.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like them announcing King and Queen of the Ring winners are going to have title matches at SummerSlam kind of like put the kaputs on certain things that we were thinking for SummerSlam originally.
But do you want to see Gunther versus Damian?
I feel like Gunther versus Damian would be good and hard hitting, but you could also make a case for Gunther challenging Cody, especially when you think about his Royal Rumble performances too.
Oh, this is true. But they're on separate shows, right?
Yeah, I feel like
does it matter?
Well, they said just they get a world title opportunity. They didn't have to say or state in specific. Okay. And it also gets a bigger heel over on SmackDown as well, too. So I could see Gunther going that way just to really give Cody a good run for his money. Not that he's not already going to have one right now, but.
Correct. All right.
which we will get into.
Damian retains. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
All right. And on to other long-term angles we have going on. We have, I don't want to say the implosion of Alpha Academy, but it certainly feels like we've been waiting for the other shoe to drop for maybe a month now.
Yeah. Oh
We have
God,
Chad Gable challenging Sami Zayn once again for the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, we've just seen the progression of Chad Gable into a young Kurt Angle with the "You chants and just like going ballistic after Sami would eventually retain the title on Raw when he was in Montreal. I feel like right now Alpha Academy is looking the weakest they've ever looked, just because it's like, will they turn? Won't they turn? You have Otis, who's still Gable's pawn, but you have Maxine just constantly getting degraded, Tozawa getting degraded. It's just, there's no sense of like self-worth for Alpha Academy, because you're just taking it and it's not really turning into like perseverance or like overcoming the adversity. I feel like we're going to see Chad Gable win the title. It's just, what do they do once he has the title? Because, I mean, is Otis going to join him? Or are they going to finally try to stick up for themselves and then he's still able to overcome it and find a way to beat Sami dirty, whether it's like using the tights as a roll-up or like the distraction with like doing something to a member of Alpha Academy and Sami being like the pure baby face, just really trying to defend people that can't defend themselves, and that hurts him to a crutch. I feel like we're at a point where we don't need another like 2-year reign. So, and I feel like they've been so close to pulling the trigger on Chad Gable. We've seen it multiple times with Sami, with Gunther. I feel like at Clash it's going to be his time. So I'm going to say a new Intercontinental Champion Chad Gable. What say you?
Interesting. Jose, I have a lot of thoughts on this. So I was one, I'll be honest, where I was really pissed that they turned Chad Hill, because I was such a underdog Chad Gable fan. I was the one rooting. I'll be honest, as much as I love Sami Zayn, I did not want him to win. I was actually extremely disappointed that he's the one who won the title, because I really thought it was Chad's time. So then they did this whole Hill thing with him, and I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, he's such a good underdog. He's so easy to root for. Like, what are we doing? I say all this, but he's absolutely killing it, right? You got your natural, organic, you suck chance that no one, he didn't ask for him. No one did him in the ring on the mic. The fans just automatically started chanting it, and you're like, oh my God, like, he's killing it. It's almost giving you a whole nother side of Chad Gable we just didn't know was there. Because he's excellent. To your point, I feel like there's like this big anticipation, right, for like Otis to do something or for Maxine to do something, right? And it's like, when are they going to do something? Because you're right, there's this big anticipation of, will they, won't they? Like, what are we doing? You know, last week you had Otis body slamming Sami Zayn, seemingly kind of taking Chad's side, but only because Otis thought Sami pushed him in the Maxine. And so it's like, I feel like Otis is playing dumb. And I feel like Otis is smarter than we all are leading on. And I think he knows exactly when to pull the trigger, and it's going to be during this title match. I think Sami will retain. I don't think Chad gets it yet. I don't know if you know this, but on SmackDown a week or two ago, whenever this is airing, Chad was talking to the Creed brothers in the back. So I feel like, again, layers. So when Otis does eventually, I think, attack Chad Gable, I think Chad will already have a backup plan for the next match, or let's just say they get a rematch or whatever it might be. I think Chad ends up getting it at SummerSlam, not at Clash. I think Sami will retain because Otis will attack Chad at some point. And not attack him just out of willy-nilly because he's being an asshole. And I think it's going to get a huge thunderous pop when it happens. And then I think Chad will call foul and say, well, he attacked me. You know, I deserve a rematch. And I think they do get that rematch at SummerSlam. So, or Money in the Bank, one of the two. But this time Chad will have backup, I think, in the Creed brothers, which we will not be expecting. So, yeah, we will see. I think there's a good way to go here. I think Sami will retain, but I think Chad does ultimately get the title down the line.
Yeah, and I feel like it's funny that you mentioned the Creed brothers because I feel like I could honestly see like once Otis and the rest of Alpha Academy turns on Gable that we'll see the Creed brothers, and honestly, I think we might get Ivy Nile turning on Maxine as well to kind of have like this Diamond Mine 2.0, and that could set up like a nice 6-person tag at Money in the Bank where you have like Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine go against Diamond Mine and Ivy Nile, and that could lead to for whatever reason. If for whatever reason that Chad goes away, or not goes away, if he ends up winning the title, they could possibly build to Otis as his opponent at SummerSlam too, because you have that program that we've been seeing since Backlash, where it's just like it'll give Otis a chance to show off more of what we know he can do. But I don't think, I don't know. I just feel like they might pull the trigger now just because it's not quote unquote expected for Chad to win it now. And it also doesn't really do anything to Sammy to just have him like stretch out the inevitable, because no one's seeing Sammy as a long-term champion, unfortunately, which I hate to say. It's just, yeah, the big moment he beat Gunther in Philly, but aside from that, just not really had a lot of momentum since.
Right. No, I kind of love where they're going with this Chad thing. Again, layers, the unpredictability of it all. It could go literally both ways and the stories still progress. So maybe, I don't think the Creed brothers will get involved yet, but I could see maybe Tozawa out of nowhere helping Chad. You know what I mean? Like just something like that where maybe Otis does finally stand up to him. Maxine, stands up to him, and then Tozawa is the one that helps him win. Like, it could go multiple different ways here. So this should be an interesting one. I think Sammy's going to retain. I think this is the first time we're disagreeing here.
Yeah, I mean,
on our prediction.
I'm okay being wrong or right. So that's the whole thing about
that's the fun part of it, right? That's the fun part of it.
And on to another match where, honestly, I don't really have like a definite who's going to win this one. We saw it announced on the last episode of SmackDown. We have a triple threat match for the women's tag team titles after that no contest brawl on Raw. So Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are going to be defending against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark against the unholy union of Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. And I have a theory for this match, but I'm curious to see if what you're thinking first, Stephanie. Go ahead.
Ooh, theory. Oh, here we go. First of all, I'm very, very happy that Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are getting this match in their home country of Scotland. It's about damn time. They have kind of just been sitting in the back since getting called up, so I'm so happy to see them on screen. Alba Fire, aka Kaylee Ray, is another one who is fantastic wrestler. Been in the game a long time, just like Piper, best friends with Piper. And they just have not let her shine. Like, I feel like even when she was in NXT, they hadn't really let her shine the way she was in NXT UK. So it was just like, when are you gonna let her loose? You know what I mean? Like, this woman can go, man. And so I'm very excited to see how this all goes down. I think this has the potential to be one of the best matches, because in this match, Jade Cargill may be green, right? But you have Bianca Belair, Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Alba Fire, who are excellent in-ring workers. Shayna Baszler is an excellent anchor. Bianca Belair, Zoe Stark, and Alba Fire, excellent in-ring workers. I'm like, all Jade has to do is show up and hit her spots, and these women will work around her like crazy. This has the potential to be one of the best matches of the night. I'm actually looking really forward to this. As far as who's winning, I am assuming Bianca and Jade retain here. I don't see them dropping them yet. However, they keep saying this line, who's going to beat us? Who's going to beat us? Who's going to beat us? And I'm like, eventually someone has to be. Eventually someone has to beat you. I don't know. I think Bianca and Jade retain.
So funny enough, I don't think they retain. However, I don't think they're going to be involved in the decision. So my theory is, I'm thinking the next 3 shows. So we're going to have like a great, I feel like this is going to be the sleeper match of the night, which it
Yes.
damn well could be match of the night
think it would
easily. You have like the character work that Isla Dawn brings, the mystique, having her like witchiness against like Zoe Starks being super mega cocky and full of herself, and then Jade just being Jade, being the shit. Like, all right,
Yes.
try me. I wish you would. So like having all those layers, I feel like if anything, we're gonna see Unholy Union win the title, but I feel like they're gonna pin Zoe Stark or Shayna in the match. I feel like Bianca and Jade aren't gonna be involved, so that's gonna cause a reference like, how do we lose the titles without getting pinned or whatever? So I feel like they would have a rematch at Money in the Bank, and that's where we really start to build into, okay, I feel like there's going to be who turns on who. Does Bianca turn on Jade, or does Jade turn on Bianca? And that's how they lose the rematch. And you could get into their singles program that everybody's been salivating for the second that Jade got signed to WWE.
Jose, how dare you? They're never breaking up, Jose.
I love them together, but I feel like just the mystique of them facing each other, like I have not felt this strongly about like, I need this match immediately since honestly Sasha and Bianca's WrestleMania main event.
It's gonna happen. We know what's gonna happen eventually. I just love their chemistry and I love them together. So I'm like, I don't want it to break up, but eventually. Here's the thing: like Jade makes an excellent heel. She hasn't been a heel since arriving at WWE, and so I feel like they are going to keep Bianca face most likely, and I just see Jade turning into that evil heel that we all know from AEW. So I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't want it to happen yet. However, interesting. I would love. Here's the thing: all the Scots can't lose in Scotland, right?
Right.
So if Drew doesn't win and Piper doesn't win, like you have to give it to Alba and Isla. You can't have them all lose in their home country.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like what they put it on them were Zoe and Shayna.
I don't know, because I feel like Zoe and
Shayna. I said that right. Yeah.
Zoe and Shayna, think about how they came together, because it was after Zoe had turned on Trish. They had their singles match on Raw, and then it's like, okay, I respect you and everything. And then they just kind of became like the staple WWE, let's form a tag team. Whereas we've seen like not only Isla and Alba, like from their stuff in NXT, obviously being the last NXT women's tag team champions, which should have never been unified with the main roster ones, but I digress. Considering who they unified them with. I'm just saying. But great. No, I feel like we have like a true tag team that we've really missed at the helm. I mean, we kind of got it with the Kabuki Warriors, but it didn't feel like fully Kairi and Asuka because it was just an extension of Damage Control at the time.
Right.
I think it's something that's going to bring more competition. I would love to see Alba and Isla as champions run it back with Kaden and Katana. I would love to see what they do with Candice and Indy, kind of like show like, oh yeah, no, we called up all the NXT tag teams and got rid of the title. But that's because we have a really good tag division on the main roster.
Right.
I feel like when you have like just the presence and the uber charisma that Bianca and Jade have, it's hard to have a viable contender just because you already assume that they're going to win. Because, I mean, when you look at who they are, why the hell wouldn't they? They're strong, they're powerful, they're athletic. Like they can pull out stuff that you wouldn't expect them to pull out, even with their stature and their strength. It's just, it feels like if anything's going to drive them apart, it's going to be each other, which I feel like makes a lot of sense. Right. I would love to see Alba and Isla win, and I'd be very curious to see how them losing without losing can navigate what could be next for them this coming summer, because we still have so much ahead of us.
Agreed. There's another factor in this. Again, layers. Sonya Deville keeps coming around Zoe and Shayna. And although they haven't embraced her, is she a factor? Does she come out? Does she cause some issues? Like maybe she attacks Jade or Bianca behind people's backs to try and get them to win, and Alba and Isla actually end up taking it. Who knows? Like it could go so many ways, and that's what I'm saying. Like there's layers here. Interesting. I'm interested to see what happens here.
And not even just that, now that you bring up Sonya Deville, I'd be very curious to see, because we also have the history of her and Chelsea when they were the tag team champions, having them interact backstage before Piper's match.
That's
and
true.
Sonya like maybe being like the red herring, just like, oh, anytime that you see Sonya, it's going to be when someone loses, like we saw with Natty on Raw, like we saw with obviously Sonya having to vacate her portion of the tag titles, and then Chelsea moving on to Piper as if Sonya never happened, which is insane. So really curious to see how they incorporate her back into, obviously it seems like they want her in some capacity with the tag division, but obviously can't do it alone. Who would be with Sonya? Ooh.
You know who Chelsea's other ex tag team partner was? Carmella. And we don't know when Carmella's coming back. All we know is that she had reported that she had a foot issue things that she was dealing with. So we have no clue if she's cleared. We have there are so many people actually that were due to come back, or just out. And so it's like it could go many ways here. And we don't really know what Sonya Deville's up to. Like we see her talking to different people. You heard Natty that she was talking to as well, saying, it's time for a change. Like, again, this could go a lot of different ways. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. Curious, you think they're going to drop at Clash? I'm going to say they retain, but maybe we start building that riff a bit. At the same time, I can't see all the Scots losing in Scotland. That would absolutely suck. So, oh my gosh. Jose, now you just do a whole giddy up.
It is a theory. It doesn't have to be the correct theory. It's certainly not the Austin theory.
No, I love it. Love it.
I don't know. I don't think it's ill of them, but I feel like there's going to be a lot more that could come out of them taking the L versus another retaining match. I don't know.
That, and they keep that, who's going to be this? Who's going to be this? And I'm like, when people keep repeating that on camera, means eventually you're going to get beat.
It's like the sitcom trope of what could possibly go wrong.
Right. But that's also, you can think about foreshadowing, who could be this, who could be this? Us being the key word, as in they might be their own downfall, each other. So it's kind of like, you're right, who is going to beat them? But if they aren't unified, they would be their own end, if you will. So, gosh. Okay. They're retaining.
All right.
I'm sticking to it.
I like that we have different thoughts. This is a fun event that we have because it's like not everything is super predictable. One, which is thank God, but also like I could totally see why you think what you think too. So, ooh.
And I like your theory as well. Like I love the thought process behind that. I'm like, that's very true. It could happen. I don't know. That's what I love wrestling right now. Like there's so many things to me that are just so unpredictable. And they've added these random layers into the stories and people that could be factors or could not be factors. So it keeps you guessing. And I absolutely love that.
And it even goes beyond WWE because I know at the time that we're recording this, Battleground hasn't happened. We have the TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordan Grace challenging Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. So regardless of what happens on Sunday night before this goes up, we will still have Against All Odds the Friday before Clash at the Castle, where Jordan Grace has an open challenge for the TNA Knockouts World title. Now, before we get into like talking about the main event, I kind of want to pivot a little bit. Who do you think could be showing up to TNA to challenge Jordan Grace for her title?
I'm gonna throw it right back at you before we even go there. Does Jordan Grace win the NXT Women's Championship tomorrow?
Honestly, I think so.
I think so too. And everyone's like, why would they do that? And I'm like, stop. I'm like, if this is truly a partnership, because again, I tweeted this as well last week. I'm like, on paper, Jordan Grace should dismantle Roxanne. And Roxanne, don't get me wrong, she is one of the most talented wrestlers in the world right now.
I agree.
But Jordan Grace, her experience, her strength, her talent, she should absolutely decimate Roxanne. And if you're really trying to make this a twined partnership, have Jordan Grace win the title. You now have NXT women that can go over the TNA and TNA pay-per-views and vice versa and really make this a thing. And Roxanne's too cocky, right? Like she's like, okay, whatever. She doesn't really know Jordan Grace, right? Like she's like, I guess, but And she, unlike her current NXT ladies, she can't, who she watches, studies, understands. She's not familiar in kayfabe, familiar with Jordynne Grace, right? She's not familiar with her game. She doesn't understand. She wrestled her once before, but this was out of NXT. And so you have to consider that. And I do feel that it would be a shocker and people would not be expecting for Jordynne Grace to win that match on Sunday. In turn, Jordynne Grace has an open challenge for her TNA championship. And I think a couple women are going to show up. Not just one or two. I think Roxanne will show up. I think Tatum Paxley will show up. She's been teasing as much. I think Natty Neidhart might show up. And so this can go so many ways. I'm so excited about this partnership. Just something I would have never expected if you had told me this a year ago. I would have been like, you're right. You're right. WWE working with TNA? Never. Or at the time, Impact. So we'll see. But I think it would be an absolute shock to the wrestling world if Jordynne Grace wins this title.
Yeah, I feel like Jordynne wins at Battleground, and I feel like whoever challenges her against all odds wins the Knockouts title. I would love it to be Natalya. I feel like we talk about the fact that Roxanne, like, obviously, like, you don't have the tape to study as much, obviously, with a different company. Who better than someone that's had 2 decades in this business that people consider to be a benchmark of women's wrestling?
Correct.
I could totally see Natalya winning the title. I could see her going to Slammiversary defending it because it's in Canada, in Montreal. But I could also see her showing up on Monday Night Raw with the TNA Knockouts Championship and probably doing something similar to what Becky did
open
with
challenge.
the NXT Women's title.
Absolutely.
Have an open challenge for the Knockouts title on a random Monday Night Raw. Gets more eyes on TNA. And also think about the fact that you're going to have Jordynne in NXT or even on TNA defending the NXT Women's Championship against some of the other Knockouts or even other people from NXT. Like,
correct.
This is uncharted
waters. Crazy. Like, I love it.
And it's all the women. It's all the women. We haven't seen it happen with the men once. We saw it with Mickie James in 2022 at the Royal Rumble. We saw it with Jordynne Grace this year at the Royal Rumble as well. Literally after Naomi just came back from TNA to WWE. I could see Naomi go over there. I could see Michin go over there. Chelsea Green. Maybe some former Knockouts champions that have made their way to WWE come back home and try to get another one. So
I'm excited. Like, the possibilities are endless. And I think it starts with them pulling the trigger and having Jordynne Grace win this title, because you would never think in a million years that would happen in WWE. So I want it to happen. I think Jordynne Grace is the right person to make that happen. I think that's why WWE themselves have highlighted her so much, because they want to make her a big deal. They want you to understand, if she's holding our title, like, you need to know this woman, right? And so this can go so many ways. I'm so excited.
I thought that we're talking about something unpredictable before we get into what might be very predictable in the main event. But I mean, on the topic of TNA, we have 2 former TNA stars here. I mean, we have the current undisputed WWE champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, against someone who's a 2-time TNA Grand Slam champion, the phenomenal AJ Styles, and an I Quit match, which I am very excited for, because I think I Quit matches might be my favorite stipulation of all time.
And we haven't had one, I feel like, in a very long time. I
think the last one we had in WWE was Charlotte and Ronda Rousey.
Oh, yes. I was going to say Sonya and Mandy, but yes, Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
I know AEW's had them recently, obviously, with like Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, but I feel like them doing the whole AJ Styles fake retirement thing out of a la Mark Henry is like an interesting layer. I feel like the OC turning heel with him, although Michin, girl, I love you. What's going on? Like, are you with the boys? Are you not with the boys?
Here's the thing, though. Michin also has a big title match. Is Michin going to be the first North American women's champion?
She better be. I would love to see it. I feel like having Mr. and Mrs. Keith Lee as North American champions in NXT, I mean, it writes itself. She's Mrs. NXT ladder match. That's for damn sure.
Correct.
Oh, God. I mean,
give it to Michin. I feel like she deserves that. She hasn't held a title yet. And I'm just like, who better to put it on? And then eventually she puts over one of the newer NXT gals. I feel like it's a good opportunity for her. She does kind of have this thing going on with Nia Jax, so some people think Nia Jax might show up and ruin it for her.
I mean, I would love to see her going to SmackDown in Glasgow with some extra hardware, and then also having the whole like Jada Parker like really trying to like step to her and like be like, no, this ain't no black and gold. Like I run this now. I would love to see that feud,
I
whether it's for
know.
the North American title or not. It can be whatever it is, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we have the mystique of Michin winning the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a snowball's chance in hell that the OC is going to win the NXT tag titles. I feel like
No.
Nathan and Axiom are going to win.
Yeah.
But I feel like with this one, the whole premise of an I Quit match, I never fully call it like one way or the other, just because of the fact that obviously we've seen with Mick Foley, like he said the words I quit and they used it in a audio bite to have him lose the match, even though he didn't say it himself way back in the day against The Rock. They took his recording of him saying I quit, and that was the thing that had it happen. We've seen Stephanie McMahon lose an I quit match because someone threw the towel in.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think you get Cody saying the words I quit other than him saying it on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
If they tried to throw the biggest curveball and have that be what cost him the match, I would be genuinely shocked. But I feel like there's so much more to Cody's reign as WWE champion that
he's not losing.
Yeah, I feel like it's a fun way to get AJ like reinvigorated. I feel like it's going to be a great showing for him, but I feel like you have to have Cody retain here.
Cody retains for sure. Here's the thing. So I am loving this edginess to Cody. Don't get me wrong. I love the kissing babies, shaking hands, nightmare Cody. Like he's great at it. He's a great baby face, but every baby face should have a limit. Every baby face should have a point where they get pissed off, and just fed up. And I feel like that never really happened a lot in Vince's WWE. And so I'm loving the fact that Cody is at a breaking point, right? And this happened before with Seth Rollins and him. And he does have that point where he goes, okay, enough disrespect. I'm done. And I love having that edge to him. I feel like, and AJ also has this new edge to him. And even though they had their match, I feel like this rematch is going to be a hard-hitting, brutal beatdown on both ends. And I'm assuming AJ will be the one saying I quit, but I do feel that this is going to be just one of those matches that really make both men in the sense of how incredible they are. I think there will be blood.
I think there will be too. I don't think it's going to be to the degree of John Cena and JBL, but I feel like there's no way that you do an I Quit match with this kind of Cody Rhodes and not have him get a little bit of color.
Yeah, no, there's going to be some color, I think, on both ends, and it's going to be insane. AJ, I think, ultimately says, I quit. Mm-hmm. And then I think we see AJ turn up in TNA.
Honestly, having AJ at the 20th Slammiversary show, I know he hates Get Ready to Fly. I don't give a rat's ass. Have him come out to that damn song. I don't care if you had it for some way, shape, or form for 10 years. That is your damn song, sir. Especially after you got new music in WWE. No, give us Get Ready to Fly.
Right. Accept it. It's going to be okay. I think AJ turns up in TNA. So, and that'll be maybe the first men's crossover that we see. So we will see. Again, Cody retains for sure. He's not dropping that title anytime soon. So I think he retains. I think AJ says I quit. And AJ shows up in TNA at some point.
I'm excited. I mean, I feel like this is actually be one of the best shows of the year, which is crazy to say because we've had an excellent WrestleMania. We had an excellent Backlash. Even King and Queen of the Ring, I thought was a really good pay-per-view for what we got. Some matches that didn't think we were going to call match of the night ended up being match of the night. I'm still thinking about that Annihilator to Fire Valkyrie.
Amazing. It was amazing. I was like, girl, are you okay? Are your organs still intact? We have a lot to look forward to. I think this is going to be a great pay-per-view. I'm really enjoying this 5-6 match card situation because honestly, every single match gets time. Every single one of them. I think King and Queen of the Ring, every match was over 7 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even when we talk about Backlash, that was literally half men, half women down the line. So like you really get to see more of like an even booking, and it doesn't feel like it's 50-50 booking for a lot of these matches. Like
King and Queen of the Ring was also half and half if you include the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
It was also 3-3. And I'm like, let's keep it this way, please. Like, let's even the amount of women's matches, even the amount of men's matches. There's more than enough stories going on where you can make that happen. So
yep, same with Elimination Chamber, that was 3-3 as well. So gosh, I'm excited to see. But I mean, for those obviously Fridays on Body Slam, but where else can people find you, Stephanie? I'm so grateful you got to do this. This was a fun discussion of this whole event.
Yes. You can find me on Body Slam Net's channel on Know Your Role, the SmackDown recap show every Friday night. You can find me on True Hill Heat's channel for Serving Face and Hills once a month on Sundays with my tag team partner, Chrissy Love. And you can find me obviously on Twitter and Instagram at StephanieHypes. And I'm around. And then hopefully I'll see you at SummerSlam, Jose.
Yeah, it's very much looking like it. I'm excited for it. I mean, Stephanie is marvelous to meet in person, guys. Like, she's just as nice as she is online. There's a reason why everybody gives her flowers, because she deserves them. So please keep the ball rolling. More flowers for this woman, please.
Thank you. And Jose, you are incredible at what you do. I've obviously followed you for a while. First time I met Jose in person was Mania this year. So just follow his channels, y'all. He's great. You guys, like, I always respect people because I never purposely got into this. Like, I'm just a fan who loves wrestling and I love covering wrestling, and that's it. There are people who are truly striving to make this their career and are working very hard to get there. I don't know if that is your main goal, but respect the grind, because it is not easy. It is not just logging on and, filming something. There's hours of editing. There's hours of stuff that a lot of these people put a lot of work into to get done. So, and you being one of them. And so much respect.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. No, absolutely. Thank you for having me on here.
The honor was all mine. And then for anybody that doesn't already know where to find me, I keep it easy. Jose in the Air everywhere. JoseInTheAir.com has literally every link, including ways to support the channel, whether it's on Twitch, whether it's with merch. But it has been such a treat to get to talk to you guys. And I will see you all on the next episode of I Guess at This Time. So take care, everyone.
Bye.